Why'd you wait so long to call that kick return play? No, but what was different? I'm Braden being out there is a little bit different. Was there anything different about it?
Well, a couple things about it. We actually had that particular return called on the first one too. That was a touchback. We just thought throughout the course of the week as we evaluated our own personnel against what we were trying to get accomplished on that return, that Braden would give us a really good opportunity, because that was a difficult single block that he had on the guy that he was responsible for. As we counted, it's the R5, as we count from outside in. And we knew that block could be the difference between it being a touchdown and just potentially just a solid return. And he did a phenomenal job. He's been on that return unit for us all year long, more in a reserve role. But every week he's out there practicing, he's prepared. And, when we needed him to go do it and go execute, he did a tremendous job. And I think that just kind of speaks to, who he is and kind of what he's all about as a player and how he's impacted this program.
For someone like Deuce, who obviously has a ton of athleticism, kind of trying to find ways to use him and to utilize it to get that shot of confidence, I guess what does that mean for him potentially going forward?
I mean, Deuce, when he has an opportunity to have the ball in his hands, especially in open field, and that being a field return where speed is critical. He was the in my mind and coach's mind the best suited for that role and responsibility. And we talked about through the course of the week, you're going to hit it. And, there was really never a doubt that if we got the right kick, and obviously we had to do a good job blocking, which the guys did a tremendous job, that he would have the ability to take it to the house. And, he never slowed down. And, I thought he did a tremendous job.
I think there was a punt, I think it was in the second or third quarter, where Keon Coleman kind of fielded it. And he went down, but also got hit. Was that one of those that you kind of want him to call a fair catch on, judging the space and seeing don't take the extra hit when you don't need it?
The real deep one that he caught over his shoulder. Yeah. I think those are sometimes tricky to fair catch because he's tracking the ball in that situation. And give credit to Duke. We said going into the game that there was the top two punters in the league that were going at it, and they did a really good job in terms of how they affected field position in their punt game. But I thought Keon did a good job fielding it. Like I said, I trust his judgment, and I'm never going to tell him when to or when not to, because I do trust who he is, and he's got to make that decision, and I want him to be confident in it. We'll always coach him during the week on specific situations, but if he feels like it's time to go make a play, I trust who he is and his judgment in those situations.
How does Wake Forest's offense, the slow mesh, and the uniqueness of it mess with defensive ends and timing?
I think the challenge of it is, for one, the uniqueness of it, that it's different from the week-to-week, offensive schemes, especially in the run game that you typically see. It's hard to replicate. It's hard to simulate. So it's going to be a really good challenge for our scout units to give the best look that they could possibly give. And then from a defensive line perspective, I think the most important thing is that you maintain your gap integrity. Sometimes that slow mesh lures you kind of out of your gap because you feel like it's time to go get off the block, because that mental clock that you always have in terms of how fast you need to get off blocks is kind of triggered. And you just got to do a great job with gap responsibility and owning your gap. And it's going to be one of those things that we've now gone against it a couple years, and hopefully we're going to be a little bit more confident in how to play against it than we have in the past.
Two quick ones. First, is that Duke kid the best punter that's ever lived? I mean, that was incredible. Did y'all know he had – obviously he was one of the best punters in the country, but those were missiles he was hitting.
Yeah, no, he had a tremendous night, and we knew he was really good going into it, on that evening he really went out and executed well. He did a good job. And I thought, like I said, I thought Keon did a good job of fielding all the ones that he could to limit any extra roll that could be there.
And that's a big play to him catch it over his shoulder, right? Most kids would let that bounce, and then it could go out at the 1 yard line.
Exactly. No, I thought it was good that he fielded it.
And then what goes into – because Rodney started the game as the kick returner. So without, I guess, revealing any secrets if there are any, what goes into Deuce being out there sometimes and Rodney being out there sometimes?
You know, for that specific game, and that's not necessarily going to be the case going forward, so I don't necessarily feel like it would be giving anything away. We wanted Deuce to be in there when we ran that particular return that we ran, and we wanted Rodney in there when we were running other ones. So that was really kind of what led to that. We typically don't do that, so I don't really feel like I would be giving anything away. But we did feel like Deuce gave us an opportunity. I think Rodney would have given us a tremendous opportunity as well, but Deuce gave us the opportunity on that field return to hit it quick, and you know, he obviously did a great job.
It's probably a better question for Coach Norvell, but we had other stuff to get to. When the play where they end up forcing you guys to call the timeout in the fourth, when they acted like the offense was going to go for it, can you just talk us through like what happens in those circumstances, like deciding whether to send out the you know, which unit, and then also was there ever a scenario where they would have been able to snap the ball without you guys calling timeout first? The TV made it feel like the referee helped them by holding it, but a timeout could have been called at any time.
Well, you know, a couple things about that. You know, I think after the incomplete on the third down play, I think there was a little bit probably on our end of an assumption that they were going to punt the ball in that situation midfield. You know, there was no exchange of our personnel. We didn't send the punt pressure unit out there, and you know, we weren't really calling for the defense to come off. It was kind of like a reaction to the third down play, which now was a great teaching moment for us on Sunday to talk about. You cannot leave the field, obviously, until you get called off the field. In terms of the referees and how they handled it, and whether a timeout was needed, to my knowledge, they did not substitute. If they did not substitute, they'd be able to snap the ball. If they did sub, they have to give us time to sub, and the referee would stand over the ball. I did not take my eyes over there to see whether they had a substitution or not, but if they didn't, they would have been able to snap the ball. And you know, taking a timeout was, in my opinion, the right thing to do to make sure we had the correct personnel on the field.
But there's no scenario they would have been able to snap it with nobody, without you guys calling timeout.
I think by letter of the law, they probably could have. I mean, I think they probably could have. I don't know why they couldn't be able to if we had all of our people off the field and there was no reason for all of our people to be off the field. I don't know, though. I've never seen that actually play out, but I think they probably could have. Oh, absolutely. No, yeah. It would never have happened because Coach would have called timeout. Yes. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
We're asking the crazy ones today. When a kick returner does puts his fist out, like extends, could he then catch the ball and run with it? Is that a fair catch signal? Because it doesn't
you're
seem
going to
like
draw
it's
me into the
Iowa, Minnesota. But
so
for a kick returner specifically.
So they go through some of the parameters. The referees typically do a really, really good job before the game, especially in games that are during the day when there's some sun out, of going through what they're going to look at as a fair catch and what they wouldn't. Because sometimes you're putting your hand up there because there's a glare from the sun that you're just trying to block out. So they talk about keeping your hands down below your shoulders. The arms to the side, to me, is not a signal for a fair catch. I've seen people do it to try to deke people into slowing down and then run and return. I've never seen that called as a signal for a fair catch. But I think it has to do with where your arms are at. I mean, obviously, waving anything above your shoulders is going to be called a fair catch. Anything low to your side, you're probably good to go with, just like I think you're good to point at a ball that's on the ground and then return it. I think where it gets gray is when it gets kind of up in here, what that is. And at the end of the day, it's a rule that's put in to protect returners. And you know, I don't think referees are ever trying to hurt anybody by calling it. I think it's just, you know, sometimes hands get out, and we had one with Micah last year, where, you know, he said he was blocking the sun. It looked to me like he might have thrown his hand up, and those are tough judgments because you don't know intent of what the receiver or returner is trying to do.
I know when you guys are on defense, there's like a punt alert yell on the sideline on third down. When you guys are on offense, is Mike communicating on a headset that if it's fourth and if we're better than 5 yards on this next play, we're gonna go for it on fourth down? And how alert do you have to be in Ryan's mindset to know when he's going to be used or Alex is going to have to punt?
Oh, no, that's a great question. So I have the capability on my headsets to be on both sides of the ball. So anytime it goes to third down, I go to the offensive side of the headset, and there is some discussion of whether this is 4-down territory or potentially not. Either way, like in a 3rd and 5 scenario, either way we're going to have the kick units ready, because if we take a negative play, then we certainly might be in a position where we're gonna punt it or kick a field goal. If it's a positive play but we don't get the first down, that's obviously where the decisions come into play, and that's where, you know, I'm listening on the headset for a coach to make a call on game situation, whether it's a go for it situation or whether we're going to send out one of our kicking units.
Anything else?
Awesome, thank you guys.
Would you have been mad? So if you're the Iowa coach, I guess you're pissed off that they called it away, but if you're the Minnesota coach, you're happy. You're like, oh, that was right.
Oh, yeah, it's good. Like I think that was a tough one, because there was the point, and then there was kind of a flail of an arm.